Hello and welcome back to the Women's Football Chat. Today we're going to be talking about Manchester United and what they need in this transfer window to compete for the WSL title. So we're going to talk about what they've done in the window so far, who's departed, who's joined the club, and then perhaps look at some options they should be exploring. So let's start, I think, with the incoming signings. So we'll start with Melvine Malard because that's an easy one. She was on loan at the club last season. I thought she actually had a really successful first campaign in the WSL.
Yeah, she did, saying that at times for United it wasn't an easy season. To be completely honest, it doesn't seem like the best atmosphere of a club to come into as a new player. And also, as a loan player, sometimes that means you're not really, you're not going to be as bothered as much because you know that if it does go badly, that you can always go back to your club at the end of the season. But obviously, Malard and United feeling that to re-sign her, to sign permanently, I think it's a good deal, as you say. She's a very, very good player. And once she's bedded into United, and as United are going up, taking their next step, as United are going improving on leaps and bounds, I think this is a step in the right direction. But I also think it's a good sign. It's a good transfer for Malard.
Yeah, I think she wasn't handed enough opportunities last season. When we did see her, though, she really shone in that United side. And I think if they are looking to push on and be really successful, Malard has to be a key part of that starting 11. I think she was one of their better players last season. The other new signing, arguably the more exciting transfer, is the addition of Dominique Janssen from Wolfsburg. That's a fantastic bit of business. On a free transfer, a really dependable centre-back. The big question for me, though, is what does it mean for that Man United backline? Because Turner and Le Tissier, arguably their best assets, one of them's going to have to be dropped, presumably, to accommodate Janssen. Or an adjustment of system. Could we see Le Tissier at right back? We've seen her do that role for England, so that's definitely an option. Is that something you think will be explored this season by Skinner?
Yeah, I think 100% all three of them have to play. All three of them are very, very good players. As you say, you either shoot, you can play Le Tissier right back, she's good at that.
And where do you put Jade Riviere? So there's so many questions.
Well, that is a good question, but for me, I think if you, with Janssen, Turner and Le Tissier all have to start, whether you go to a back three, but I don't think Mark Skinner's going to do that. And then I think we've seen Le Tissier can do it for England, but then also you have to focus all your attacking intent on the left-hand side. But on Janssen, I think you're bringing in a born winner. You're bringing an experienced player who knows what it takes to win trophies, who performs outstandingly in big games. Both for her club and her country. She's played in big games and competed for trophies. So for United, once again, this is a really good signing. It's another step in the right direction. They're building as a football club. They're challenging for trophies, and to bring in someone of Janssen's experience, I think is a good bit of business.
Yeah, I want to speak purely hypothetically here. So you might call me mentor in the comments section, but could we see Maya Le Tissier in midfield next season? She's very comfortable pushing into midfield, as we've seen this season for Manchester United, carrying that ball forwards. She's very comfortable going and pushing onto players in midfield. Is that something that could be explored by Skinner? I
mean, hypothetically, yes. For me, it makes sense because Mark Skinner, in order to challenge with the top teams and the top managers in the league next season, in order to beat Bonpastor and Chelsea, Eidevall and Arsenal, Taylor and City, Skinner, obviously the signings will be brilliant, but as you say, Skinner will have to adapt. Skinner will have to do something tactically. He will have to, improve on his work, and maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's something inventive. Maybe it's something influential, like a bizarre moment like that. Trying something different because that's what it's going to take to beat the top side. So maybe
I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of rotation there, and they don't actually change a whole lot. So we'll see what happens in the season. Let's talk renewals, and then we'll get on to those players that are leaving and what needs to be replaced. Really, so obviously recently renewed Leah Galton, Hannah Blundell, and Maya Le Tissier. I think Galton and Blundell were both in February, Le Tissier in April. They're all really key re-signings, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because with Blundell and Le Tissier, obviously you guarantee a very strong back line there. Obviously Blundell, I think she had a good season. Obviously, despite her injuries, I think she had a lot
of injuries at fullback this season. United, Riviere and Blundell both out for long periods, and I do think that hurt them because I don't particularly rate Aoife Mannion or I forget her first name, Jed Evans.
Yeah, but even something like that, Gemma, something like that. But even she was injured for parts of the season as well. So maybe once we get into what else they need, that could be an area. But three good signings. I think Galton had a decent season. I remember how Galton.
She's one of their better players. She scored in that FA Cup tie against Chelsea, which is crucial for them getting into that final.
In a front line that was a bit inconsistent with Toon, Malard, Paris, Williams, whoever they wanted to play up there.
They made up every week.
Exactly.
Heisei as well.
Exactly. Heisei, that's the other one. Out of all that inconsistent confusion, Galton seemed to be the nailed-on player that played well, but again, she did have her injury problems as well. So I think 3 good deals that make sense for United.
Yeah, you mentioned there Galton being the best attacker. I'd actually argue the best attacker was probably Lucia Garcia, who is, of course, departing this summer to join CF Monterrey. I think we'll start with Garcia then. Probably their best attacker last season. That's something they've got to replace.
Yeah, 100%. As I said, the rest of the front line was very inconsistent, and Garcia delivered very strong performances again in the big games. FA Cup final, FA Cup semi-final. Big games in the league. Garcia was the one to drag United through, and that's a very hard player to replace. It's very hard to replace a game winner. That the player that can just drag you through 3 points. So that's a big loss for me for United, and I think that is going to be a key area they need to focus on sorting out early on this summer.
Their attack's been a bit of a mess this season because Heisei's not bedded in very well. No. They've massively missed Alessia Russo. I think Toon's blown hot and cold this season. And the fact that their first point of call of summer hasn't been to go and sign a forward. Because Malard was in the squad last season, so that's not a new addition. That's, for me, the odd choice. I thought they should have pushed for Vivian Miedemar. She's now gone to Manchester City. That, for me, would have been the perfect signing for Manchester United. They've got to find something. But the big question mark is who? Because your big marquee signings, Miedemar, already gone to Man City. Romy Leukter already joined PSG. I think you'd struggle to sign Blackstenius now because she's second at Arsenal. Yeah. Why would you leave that setup? So I'm not really sure who Man United target now for that striker position. I think a lot of the big signings are gone. And so they're sort of stuck now with trying to either shoehorn Melvine Malard through the middle or stick with Heisei Ferreira, which hasn't worked.
No.
I mean, Paris played up front a little bit last season. That wasn't too successful. We know she signed another year extension, which is quite interesting to see. But I don't think United can afford to rely on Nikita Paris anymore.
Well, that's the thing for United. I think 2 of their best, as we talk about Garcia and Galton, but the other 2 attackers that did decently were Rachel Williams and Nikita Paris. And don't get me wrong, as you say, they're 2 good players, but they're not. You can't rely on them to get your goals in. You cannot trust in Williams and Paris to win you the big games. I mean, I love Nikita Paris. I think great player. Same with Williams, but they're not on the ability of that top 3. They're not WSL winning players anymore. They're not trophy winning players anymore.
They're reliable backups.
Exactly.
But it's a problem when you're having to rely on them as your starting players.
Yeah.
And I think United have put themselves in a really difficult position because, theoretically they could start without them. They could play Galton, Toon and Malard and then Heisei up front. But that front 4 hasn't scored many goals this season. And I don't see what changes next season unless there's some huge tactical shifts. I think they've also got a huge issue in the middle of the park, which I think we'll move on to now, in the form of Katie Zelem leaving, which they haven't replaced. That's not only their captain, right, Katie Zelem, their penalty taker, and their starting central midfielder gone on a free transfer. I just can't stress enough how poor this is from Manchester United. And we haven't even got to Mary Earps yet. So United in midfield, what happens there now?
I mean,
does it fall to Nelson to pick up the scraps?
It can't. This is massive. This is worse than Earps. This is worse than anything for me. And obviously, a lot of people will say Earps is terrible, and yes, it is. But for me, letting Zelem go, as you say, you've lost so many key components of your side in one player, and you've just released her. It is so bizarre. Because a player with those credentials, you can't replace. You can't replace a captain, a penalty taker, and a very good central midfielder all in one. You won't find a player that can do what Katie Zelem does in all 3 of those departments. So it's going to be a downgrade for United, I feel, whoever they bring in. And that's the big question. Again, you've lost the big defensive midfielders are very happy where they are, the best in the world. You're not going to bring them in. So for United, again, it is worrying. You're letting players go without having other replacements lined up. I feel for United, we could get very close to the 21st of September and they're sat here scrambling going, well, what do we do now? Who do we bring in?
I think that's an important distinction to make. There is still 2 months. We're now going into the Olympics period, so obviously club players are going to be away on international duty, and perhaps we've got to wait till after that to really see some movement in the market. But even you think, who could United target? As you say, those big players, your Lena Erbelovs have already moved on months ago. That's out of the picture. And anyone in that bracket, I don't think United could sign anyway. Even if they were going to take a punt on someone like Julia Bartel, that's out the window now because she's going to sign for Chelsea. So I don't really see... I mean, United have been looking at Denise O'Sullivan for a while, but the fact that that's taken so long and dragged on, it seems so indicative of all of United's transfer dealings. Which is weird. Everything just drags on.
For me, I think Denise O'Sullivan's a good player. Watching at Carrow Road on Friday night, she had a decent game in an Ireland side that kind of got played off the park. But,
for large parts.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, the problem is for United is obviously... I mean, yes, they can wait for the 2 months. They can wait until after the Olympics. But by that point, I mean, they're already behind the big clubs in this transfer window. Because City have gone and got Miedemar. Chelsea have gone and got Sandy Baltimore.
And Bartel.
And Bartel. The other...
Arsenal have signed Caldente.
Exactly. United are already falling behind.
Yeah. And Janssen's a great signing, don't get me wrong. So you could tell, they've also made one marquee. The difference is... Chelsea, Arsenal, City, they only need 1 or 2 additions this summer. United have got so much to do. And they've got to thank Christ that Toon's loyal and that Le Tissier is renewed. Because without that, they'd be a mess. They'd be all over the place.
The other problem for United is that Chelsea, bought another forward because they need another forward. City bought in a striker because they need another striker. Arsenal, again, they've bought in an attacking midfielder to improve it. Now, also, don't get me wrong, I think Janssen improves the United side. They don't. Centre half should not have been the priority. It is bizarre to me how they looked at it. Right, Earps has gone, Zelem has gone, Garcia's gone, so let's bring in a defender.
To be fair though, I think when that Janssen deal becomes an option, you kind of got to go for it.
Yeah,
because it's a free transfer. You've got to pounce on that. So I get why they've done that first.
Probably it looks worse because they've only made that transfer.
But also, exactly. And it's the fact they're not linked with anyone at the moment. I've not seen them desperately chasing after a defensive midfielder. That's the bizarre thing for me, is that there's been so many options this summer who seem perfect for United and they're not seemingly even in the conversation. Is a little bit of this, all the process is delayed because of the takeover of the club?
Yeah.
Could that explain a lot?
There's a lot going on off the pitch at Man United, and I worry that is... I mean, that's part of the reason why Zelem, Earps and that could leave so freely, or were told to leave, is because it is such a mess at Man United. There's so much going on off the pitch, and I think it is concerning that the women's side could be the bit that falters here, because if it is neglected, if the business isn't proper, then this could be worrying. Because if United, obviously they will probably bring players in, but say in a worst case scenario, they didn't replace what they've lost, they're in massive trouble.
Well, yeah, because they don't have a goalkeeper.
They don't have a goalkeeper.
That's their biggest issue. We'll touch on Earps as well, because you look at the 3 players that have gone in Garcia, Zelem and Earps, and bar Le Tissier, that's probably their best 3 performers from last season,
100%.
Which doesn't really bode well at all. They lost Russo the summer before, and when you look at Tottenham bringing Aria Dennis in, that's a great signing. They've renewed Jessica Naz. Clinton obviously will come back to United, and that could be a breath of fresh air in this United side.
I guess that's your Garcia replacement, really, isn't it?
Theoretically, she could play out wide, so maybe that solves that hole. But there's still so many other holes. In goal, then, why are United not being linked with anyone right now?
I mean, it's ridiculous. You've lost one of the best goalkeepers in the world on a free again. Poor whatever is going on at the back room at United. Yeah. And it is the worst timing because you've got so many sides on the hunt for a goalkeeper. You've either teams are settled with their keepers and they're not going to let them go,
or you're going to have to break the bank.
Exactly. Exactly. Because like Chelsea, say United wanted to, I'm not saying they'd go get Mitrovic, but say if you went for that backup goalkeeper, that would be smart. Option. But Chelsea aren't idiots. They're not going to let her go for cheap. No. Same with City, they're happy with their keepers. Arsenal are on the hunt, and that's the problem for United. If any goalkeeper is looking at WSL, they're looking at Arsenal. They're not looking at Man United. It would be so United if Arsenal went and signed a goalkeeper and then United went and signed Zinsberg or D'Angelo.
Well, D'Angelo's already gone, hasn't she? She's left on a free. So they've only got Zinsberg left. I can't really see her leaving Arsenal. So I just don't know what United do unless they're going to go throw a load of money at Juventus and try and get Peko Magnin, unless they're going to go to...
And that would be good business.
That would be great business.
That would be a statement.
The smartest thing to do is go to Paris FC, go get Enandozi.
Yeah.
She was so good at the last World Cup. She was excellent in the Champions League, and Paris FC aren't made of money. If you put enough on the table, United could get that over the line. But that's way too smart for United at the minute.
Exactly. And the thing for United is this should be... I think the takeover has come at a really poor time for the women's side, because this should be the time that United are building. They're coming into this season, FA Cup winners. They won a trophy last year. Yes, they weren't second in the league, but I think
tragic in the league.
They were tragic in the league, but winning a trophy, they should use that momentum, build on it, push up the league, win more trophies next season. And they're going backwards. They should be we should be sitting there going, Man United have made this statement signing. They threw money at this player. They've bought this player. They're all really good, quality players. Are Man United in the hunt for WSL? Are they going to win the FA Cup again? Instead, we're going, what? Are they going to sign anyone? Yeah. And that's the problem at Man United at the moment.
Yeah, they need to find whoever the Brighton recruitment staff is because they signed like 15 odd players last season. They've already got 7 this season, I think. I mean, I don't think they need to sign a whole new squad every summer, but a little bit more urgency and proactivity from United would be crucial. I think, as you say, goalkeeper, defensive midfielder have got to be the target areas for United in the coming weeks. If they can sign a striker as well, that would definitely help them out. But it doesn't look good. If you're a United fan out there, I'm very sorry to say it doesn't look particularly good right now. I think with Tottenham haven't lost anyone from last season, and they're starting to gain signings, and they're starting to look at players. I think, as you say, Liverpool look good. I'll be very intrigued to see what Brighton can do. But I said the same last summer, and they were terrible. But
we could be sat here in 2 months' time, and United have signed 4 or 5 players, and suddenly we're eating our words again. But if we know United, we know Skinner, we know what's going on off the pitch. That's very unlikely to happen.
Yeah, and to be honest, you mentioned Skinner there. He's one of the people I feel sorry for in this situation because I completely understand the criticism of Skinner, and we are very strong critics of Skinner a lot of the time,
especially on the pitch.
But there's not a lot he can do right now. He will want to go out and sign a goalkeeper. He wanted Earps to stay, but that's not in his remit.
He'd have loved Zelem. He probably woke up, by the sounds of it, he's woke up one morning and been told that his goalkeeper and defensive midfielder have left.
Oh, and best forward of the season.
Best forward of the season.
But don't worry, Le Tissier stayed, so we'll still be good. But I think United may well be in trouble. But still a very long time to go, so I won't be hitting that panic button just yet. But if we're sat here in another month's time and United have still not got anyone through the door, especially for that goalkeeper position, I think they're in a real tough spot.
100%.
So that's going to be very interesting to see how that happens over the next few weeks. But that is everything I think for today's video. Do get involved in the comments below and give us your thoughts on everything we've spoken about today, who you think United should go and target in the window. And of course, remember, we are currently live for both a lot of competitions coming up. Last night we had the England's final Euros qualifying match. We're recording before that, so hopefully England have got through. The day this goes out will be live for England U19s as they play their second game in the Women's Under-19s Euros. And then next week we kick off with the Olympics, which is going to be very exciting. Unfortunately, England, the Lioness is not there, but we're going to be covering a multitude of games across the tournament, hopefully all very quality. That's everything from us today, so thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.